Hey everyone. Oh, excuse me. There really isn't a whole lot going on. I hope you all enjoyed my last video of my friends and I acting crazy. That was a really fun night, and I learned something interesting. Charmia had mentioned that like the bowling balls in the States look different than ours, and it's interesting because we have two different types of bowling here, and I don't know if you guys in the United States have this or not, but we have 5-pin bowling, which is what we are doing in the last video, and it's smaller balls, like they're only about this big, as you probably could see in the video. And then we have 10-pin bowling, which is what Charmia was thinking of, and it's like these really, it's like the big balls, and they have this 3 holes like for your fingers, and they're heavier. And that's 10-pin bowling because like you have 10 pins to knock down, so they give you a bigger ball. But what we played was 5-pin. You only have 5 to knock down, so it's a smaller ball. And basically, like, I've never really been able to play 10-pin just because the ball is too heavy, and like now I know I definitely wouldn't be able to. I mean, just after playing like with the small one, my like probably about by the second game my wrist was really starting to hurt and get tired, and I wasn't playing as well. So I mean, with a 10-pin bowling ball, there's no way. I'd probably break my wrist or something. So yeah, I really didn't know that. It seems like they don't have 5-pin in the States. I don't know. Let me know, because I kind of find it interesting. Let's see. I had mentioned that I had to go for some blood work. This was like a whole big mess. I usually have to go for blood work about 7 to 10 days before my next appointment with my nephrologist, which is the kidney specialist. And so she gives me the requisition in advance. Well, usually, like the very first time I ever had to do that for her, they had pointed out that I would have to do fasting before that test. But any test I've ever done after that for her, I've never had to fast for the tests. And the secretary, when she gave me the requisition, never mentioned anything about fasting, so I just assumed that it was the regular testing. And so I went down 7 days before my appointment to get my blood work done, and I went like right after lunch. I had just had lunch to eat, and so I went there, and they're like, "You're fasting, right?" And I'm like, "Why am I supposed to be?" And then they showed me that on the paper it said fasting. So, I mean, because it wasn't brought to my attention before, I didn't even think to look. Now I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna look, because I went down there for nothing. I wasted like an hour to get there and then like an hour back. And I ended up buying lunch at the hospital, which I didn't need to do. I could have saved money. So it was really just like a waste of time. And so I decided before leaving the hospital, I would actually go up to the secretary at my doctor's office and ask about it, why it was done, just to make sure that it wasn't a mistake and that I still could have gotten it done. Well, anyways, it was because she was testing my cholesterol. So I had to get it done. So they were like, "Oh, well, there's some blood labs that are open on Saturday," because this was a Friday. So I had Alex look on the computer. We found one that said it was open on Saturdays. We got up bright and early Saturday morning, And we had to drive all the way there. It was quite a ways from our place. And we got there, and because Family Day was on the upcoming Monday, they were closed. So I was like, oh crap. And then of course everything was closed on the Monday because of the holiday. And then Tuesday I had to work. And I believe, yeah, Tuesday I had to work, and it was a longer shift than usual. It wasn't a 4-hour shift. I had to work like, I think it was like 9 until 3 or 3:30, so there was no way for me to get to the hospital to do the blood work on the Tuesday. So I went on the Wednesday, and I had my blood work done, and they had to poke me 3 times again, as usual. Actually, no, wait. Yes, it was 3 times. She tried in my arm, didn't get anything. Like, she was playing around. It was hurting like crazy. She didn't find anything. Took it out, tried in my wrist, which usually works. Well, actually, they have better look in my hand sometimes. But anyways, tried my wrist. And she was getting something, because she was there for a while. And she kept playing around with it, and it freaking hurt. And then she took it out, and I was thinking, yay, it's done. And then she's like, oh, I still need to get about 3 or 4 more tubes. And I'm like, so why did she take it out? So then she had to go back in my arm. Needless to say, I was bruised like all over the place. I have the worst veins to find, and it's annoying, and this is why I have to lay down every time I go, because otherwise, like, okay, like, I've been able to do it okay sitting up and not passing out if it's just a quick blood test, like 1 or 2 tubes, and boom, they get it right on the first try. I have no issues then. But when they have to play around and take it out and poke me in another spot and take it out and poke me in another spot, then I get queasy and dizzy and I pass out. So the nurses have just told me, lay down all the time, don't risk it, because it's not a fun experience when I pass out, because I end up feeling nauseous the remainder of the day, and sometimes I even throw up. So, so yeah, it's just not a fun thing. So anyways, so she went back in the arm and took like another 4 tubes. Then it was done. Okay. So then I get home, and there's a call from my nephrologist's office saying, hi, we've noticed that we don't have your recent lab results in your file for your appointment coming up on Friday. Can you please call us back? And I called them, and I was unable to still go to see my doctor on the Friday because I had just done the blood work that day, 2 days before the appointment, and they said there's no way they'll get the results back in time for Friday. So they had to reschedule my appointment until March 25th. So, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, why should I have to wait that long when, you know, I couldn't help it, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's only in on Fridays. That's it. She's only in on Fridays, and every other Friday is booked up. And even the day that they booked me for, they said that it might change. The time might change. The date probably won't, but the time might. So, anyways, so that was my adventure with that week. Well, then, when was it? Yeah, so then the Friday, I had to go back because lupus fog wasn't making me think. I should have brought both. I had 2 blood work requisitions, okay? One was for my nephrologist and one was for my rheumatologist. And my rheumatologist I was seeing like 2 weeks from the date. So, stupid me, I should have brought both forms the day that I went so that I wouldn't have to go back again. Well, So I went back again 2 days later on Friday to get the blood work for the rheumatologist done. Thankfully, I forewarned the woman about the vein problem, and she got my hand on the first try, and it actually didn't hurt that much. She was pretty good at what she did. So they got the blood, and that was that. So then I went home. And then I believe that was the weekend that we did the bowling. And so this week I went to see my endocrinologist. I see him once a year. And honestly, I think he's an idiot. I'm sorry to say. But I'm really thinking of getting a new endocrinologist, probably at the same hospital that all of my other doctors are at. So that way they all are in touch with each other. Because I haven't seen this endocrinologist since before I was diagnosed with lupus. And when I saw him, it was like a week before my first appointment with my rheumatologist that ended up diagnosing me. And I saw him, and at the time I had forgotten, because he brought it up, like he had my medication list, that the medications that I was on the last time I visited him. And I was on prednisone at that time. Yeah, I was on prednisone at that time because the general internist had started me on it to help jumpstart the inflammation thing. And I mean, she knew I was going to be seeing a rheumatologist who could help me further anyway and figure out more about what to give me. But they kind of just started me on prednisone because I was in agony. So when I went to see him, at that point they were suspecting mixed connective tissue disease, which I had told him. He had found out my kidneys weren't functioning properly, and he had referred me to a kidney specialist because he wanted to know what was going on with my kidneys. Little did he know it was lupus. But anyways, then when I met with the rheumatologist and she found out about the kidney issue, and she diagnosed me as having lupus, then she knew it was lupus nephritis, and she sent me to a different kidney specialist, and so I canceled the referral from my endocrinologist. The funny part is that he did not mention anything about that last visit. He did not mention anything about the kidney function. He did not mention anything about the fact that he had referred me to a kidney specialist and I didn't go. He didn't ask me anything about that, like what's happening with that, why didn't I go, blah, blah, blah. And he never sends me for my blood work before I see him. So when I go there, he doesn't even have my thyroid level results. So I don't know what he can do in an appointment. Like, I'm usually in and out in 5 minutes. He didn't do any examinations on me at all. All he did was, I told him that I've been diagnosed with lupus. He wrote that down, and he wrote down all my new medications. And that was it. And then he's like, okay, go for blood work, and we'll see where your thyroid level is at, and if I need to change your medication, then I'll call you. And other than that, he doesn't want to see me again until next year. I'm sorry, but I just thought that was really weird because I know that thyroid problems can be autoimmune related as well, and like it can be related to lupus. And so I'm just really surprised that he hasn't thought of like trying to find a correlation there, but whatever. So, yeah, I wasn't impressed. So I really think I'm going to try a different doctor. So that was on Wednesday of this week. And yeah.